Ja sam Durmiš iz Sabeta, nas 7 živimo, muž i ja i 5 dece. U maju mesecu su mi prekinuli, znači to je bilo 2022. I već 1 godinu i 3 meseca ne primam.
Ja živim sa suprugom, 6 dece, 9 i njegove 3 dece i svekrvom. Bili smo u centru za socijalni rad zato što smo vidjeli da nam je otkinuta socijalna pomoć. Oni su nam rekli da je ta socijalna pomoć otkinuta zbog starog gvožđa što smo prodavali iz otpada.
Social registries are information systems often used by governments in social protection settings to support the process of determining whether people are eligible or not for one or more social assistance programs. And this is based on an assessment of their needs, but also their eligibility criteria. It was really commended as a sort of centralized database that would make it fairer and easier to deliver financial assistance to Serbia's most marginalized communities and protect them from poverty. What Amnesty International found was that in some cases it's actually done the exact opposite of this on the rights of some of the most marginalized people in Serbia, particularly people from the Roma community and people with disabilities.
Kod mog socijalca Ivana, to on što otvara te karte, kako da kažem to, na računu da vidi koliko si prodala, šta si prodala, sve. I on mi objasnio, kaže, ove pare su ti što si prodala gvožđe. To ne sme toliko, kaže, da bude.
The social card registry was introduced into an already flawed social assistance system, and this was really emblematic of a case in which the introduction of technology exacerbated pre-existing poverty and discrimination.
Što god da radimo, što god da zaradimo, oni sve nađu preko računa, te kartice.
Znači, oni su mi rekli da ne smijem. Da je počeo kompjuter da saznaje sve šta se radi, šta se prodaje. Mi moramo od nečega da živimo. Ljudi živu ovde od kartona, od flaša, od gvožđe prodaju. Ako ne radimo sa to staro gvožđe, mi nemamo od čega da živimo. Mi ne možemo da živimo sa 20.000 dinara.
So the social card registry consolidates the personal data and other data of social assistance applicants and recipients from multiple databases. And these include databases from the Ministry of Interior, from the Tax Administration, Pension and Insurance Fund, Employment Service, and also housing records. Now, when we're talking about automation here, we're referring to data-driven systems which use technology to pull data from several databases into the social card registry, and then they process that data to identify possible discrepancies that could affect people's eligibility for social assistance. What we found were cases where there were errors in people's data, and this was then used by the social card registry to flag them for investigation by a social worker. And then these people were subsequently removed from social assistance support based on erroneous data. This does is it creates a situation in which social workers who should be responsible for investigating people's claims either didn't know how to amend the data, so didn't know how to correct it, or were not willing to do so. And the introduction of the social card registry has in effect reduced the role of social workers.
I oni su nam rekli da više uopšte socijalnu pomoć da ne možemo da imamo, zato što smo imali 80.000 dinara na računu. I ja sam htjela da im objasnim da to nije bilo naše i da bi željela ponovo da se vratim za jednokratnu pomoć, ali nisu htjeli to da nam dozvole, da im objasnimo.
Once removed from support, individuals have 15 days to gather evidence needed from relevant ministries to challenge the decision, which is really, really difficult in many circumstances because that involves people having to often travel to different ministries. It takes time, it costs money. And, these are people who are solely reliant on financial assistance, and sometimes they can't even afford to pay for their travel. Then in other cases, people were interviewed said that they didn't receive any decision in writing and weren't even aware that they could appeal the decision.
Oni su mi rekli da neću više da primam, to mi je zadnja rata u maju mesecu, da neću da primam, da ću da budem na prekidu samo 3 meseca. Prošle te 6 mjeseci otišla ponovo da napravim, sve sam skupila papire, odnela sam papire. I ja sam otišla na krompir da radim i javili mi da ne mogu da uzmem socijalnu pomoć. Zašto ne mogu da uzmem? Da su mi našli ponovo na računu 80.000.
The system in Serbia means that if a person is found to not be eligible for support, they're removed from the social card registry, and then they have to wait for 3 months before they're eligible to begin receiving social assistance again. Now, during these 3 months, people who are already in dire need have to fend for themselves somehow.
Radili smo na krompir, na maline, na svemu. Morali smo da radimo, a od čega će se hranimo. I don danas ne primam ništa.
Ja i opet idem, radim tako po deponiju, skupljam da bi za decu imala.
Flaše, gvožđe. Oni moraju sa nečim da žive i da rade. To je stvarno glupo što su napravili. Da ne može ništa čovjek da ide da radi. Sve si u strahu. Naći će me, ne smijem da prodam. Sad skoro su me našli isto 17.000 dinara. Ja sam morala da prodam. Neće niko da ti kupi robu ako ne daješ ličnu kartu.
Ja stvarno mislim da to nije pošteno tako što su radili, jer narod treba stvarno da živi od toga. Jer od socijalne pomoći sa 20.000 dinara ne možeš. Djeca sva u školu idu. Meni treba i za obuću, i za hranu, i za knjige. Ja se sad plaćam, ja nemam odakle.
Kako će oni da nahranu decu ako ne radiju? Da idu da kradu ili idu da prosu. Kao što ima većina ljudi ovdje što idu da prosu.
In Amnesty International's view, any introduction of technology, including low-level automation and semi-automated decision-making systems, like those used in the social card registry in Serbia, have to be carefully considered and weighed against the potential risks that those systems pose. And really, any introduction of technology has to be accompanied by adequate and robust human rights impact assessments throughout the life cycle of the system. This means from the design of the system to the eventual deployment of the system. Communities who will be impacted by the system need to be consulted, and any changes to social security systems have to be communicated to them in a clear and accessible way.
Trebali bi da otkinu te socijalne kartice da bi mogli svi narod, svi kao normalni sve da živimo. Mi moramo da radimo za sebe, da imamo, da zaradimo nešto za ovu decu. Inače sve što radimo, to sve preko centra ide, sve se to nađe uhode i sve to nemamo.
Ako ti mene nađeš da sam ja prodala flaše ili karton, znači ti moraš da mi otkineš. Jer sa 20.000 ti ne možeš ni da školuješ decu, ni ništa. I ovu kartu, što oni kažu, nemam pojma kako se zove, da oni trebaju to da otkinu, da trebaju ljudi i da radu.